Humans over the course of history have come up with some ingenious, or some might say dastardly ways of executing prisoners, with some examples including boiling, draw and quartering, burning, and modern-day methods such as electrocution, firing squad, and lethal injection. But one of the most famous and probably quickest methods used was that of beheading by guillotine.
Oh, sacre bleu.
Which is what we're looking at on this episode, which is the 47th anniversary of the last time it was used. Welcome to a morbid Cheeky Tales.
Cordon bleu.
47 years, is that it?
That's it.
That's it.
That feels like...
It's not a long time.
That doesn't feel right. That means it'd be in like the 80s.
Yeah, we'll get to it.
Oh, no.
No, it'd be late 70s.
Don't play this game of how long 40 years ago is, because then all of a sudden it's like, oh, great, Grand Theft Auto Vice City is closer to when it was set than it is now. Oh,
that's right.
Yeah, it is. I hate
exactly
it.
Right.
Yeah, I hate it.
I feel like he's heard that earlier
Recently,
this week.
yeah.
It comes up a lot in the barbershop.
So let's
not talk about that quickly.
Before we start,
Welcome back.
We're back.
He's
Welcome to Cheeky
back.
let's
My boy.
can we continue a discussion we started last episode?
Oh, yeah, of course we can. So, Chiquitos. I got some new audio equipment. It's fantastic. I got a new headphone in-ear monitor amp.
I'm the only one with over ears now.
I've got in-ear monitors, lovely new ones, and I got this beautiful iPad microphone stand so I can unnecessarily mount this on here. It's mainly for my other job.
You know what,
but,
Sean? It's lovely that you bought stuff for you to use.
And I got
it's
this great...
lovely that I didn't have to buy that.
While Sean
Great.
monologues, I'm going to have a drink.
I got this great Bluetooth page turning thing, and guess what? All of it works. All of it works out on Apple, and it's amazing, and it's fantastic. Why are we using this Komatsu ones?
Because Komatsu is the favorite earth-moving company of Cheeky Tales.
Where's our Cheeky Tail stubby coolers?
Do you know what? These ones are just really good for a stubby. That's why. Cheeky Tales ones are for cans.
He's deflecting.
He's deflecting.
Hey, buddy.
I want my Cheeky Tales one back. It has my name on it.
Aaron, can we have an update on the PC, please?
Which PC?
The one he's building.
Which one?
So
the very expensive one.
We're not using the new one because the part that broke, I asked the company to send me a replacement, and they were like, "Yeah, sure," and they sent me the wrong one. So that took it broke on the Saturday. The following Thursday, so not the next Thursday, the following Thursday, I received the new parts, and they were the wrong ones. So now I'm in contact with two companies trying to get the correct parts, and still do not have a functioning computer.
Is it just the screws that hold the thing in? Dude, go to the nut and bolt factory at Wollongabba and say, I need this thread. It needs to be this long. And they will go, okay. And they will get it to you.
Do they have, it's a spacer. So it's got thread on both sides, different kinds of thread, different lengths.
They probably will.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably will. They might.
Yeah, I can see him biting you.
Yeah, cool. I might have to go there.
Yep.
So how long
Shout
has
out
it
to
been
Nut and Bolt Factory at Wollongabba
since you purchased the graphics card?
So today is the 7th of September.
Yes.
And I purchased the graphics card, which was the first part of the upgrade, on the 22nd of July.
Okay. So yeah, people will be listening to this on the 10th of September.
Yeah.
If your release day.
So it's been close to 2 months. I'm apparently salty.
Yeah, what's on your knee?
Yeah. We were out cycling before.
Just munging into your knee like it's an ice cream on a 40-degree day.
Yeah. So yeah, no new PC.
No
new PC.
Still hasn't had any power run through it.
Has not been booted up at all.
Nope.
Yeah.
Now, you'd think that would be it, wouldn't you?
No, it's not it.
No.
Why would it be it?
How did you go with your third PC build that you told me the other day that you were going to do?
Okay. So you're making it sound like I purchased more parts. I did not. I had an old spare computer from the office that they were just chucking out that I got 4 years ago. And at the time, I was like, I'll turn it into a media PC. And then that became irrelevant with Chromecast and Google TV and such. So I went, you know what? I'll just leave this thing away and I'm going to turn it into a ghetto NAS. So just like a big hard drive that I can access from anywhere. And I have not purchased anything, but it is working. That was a successful rebuild.
So how many PCs do you have in this house at the moment?
4. Plus laptops. 2 of them were free from work.
How many are working?
2.
Do we say any more?
Aaron's computer manufacturing.
Aaron's surplus computer supplies.
Yeah, if you want some old broken PCs, my place is...
Or brand new PCs never been turned on.
My God.
Yes, I'm not having a good run.
Cordon bleu.
Cordon bleu.
All right. More fun topic that everyone can join in. NFL season has started.
NFL's
season
back.
is here.
Aaron's wearing his Buccaneers hat.
Tampa Bay, baby.
I got too distracted getting chippies and forgot to get...
Chippy.
Yeah, I got chippies instead of Bucks gear.
I've got Tigers on my shirt because
You do.
Cincinnati Bengals.
The
You're a
Bengals.
Bengals fans. Bengals. Yes, Joe
Cincinnati
Burrow will hopefully
Rivals.
have a good season and won't hurt himself.
At the moment, there's
Yeah, RIP Packers.
there's an issue at the moment because they're having a contract dispute with their marquee wide receiver,
Okay.
Not to him.
Jamar Chase.
Oh, Jamar
It's
Chase.
week 1.
He's questionable. He's on my fantasy team, and I don't know if he's playing because they haven't given him a contract.
It's week 1 of the season. Get that stuff
Get
sorted.
that stuff sorted, yeah. That's just sad.
So
Anyway.
I have to check. Please remind me tomorrow night before I go to bed. I need to check if he's playing or not because
Fantastic opening game of the season.
Yeah,
Absolutely brilliant. Came down to the last play.
yep.
And
It shouldn't have come down to the last play, but Lamar Jackson just choked quite a few
Yeah,
times.
he threw an absolute rubbish
a dummy of a ball.
Yeah.
and just-
he had a wide open receiver in the
and
end zone and just
missed
threw
him,
it too
just-
far to the left.
I was tracking the score between the Packers and the Jets today.
Yep. That was also quite a good game.
It seemed very high scoring.
Mm.
After I think the Eagles started very slowly. My quarterback was on negative points with
Yeah,
a
because he threw an
fumble
interception.
and an interception.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway,
Yeah.
NFL. So when we're recording, we could either be upset or very happy, depending on certain
My
results.
whole demeanor is determined by 22 millionaires.
Yes. Yeah. Our fantasy is looking good, though. So
Yeah.
we've got 6 players in our
Is it?
fantasy. Yeah.
Because I was looking good before you changed the points, and now I'm
told
looking
you-
terrible.
I told you he'd bring this up. You
All
look
I-
fine.
I added points. I didn't subtract anything. Your players did shit.
No, this was in the predicted for everyone because never mind.
You picked players based on their predicted point scoring, didn't you?
That was one of the contributing factors.
Research. The week 1 points never add up. Lamar Jackson scored 30, 40 points more than is predicted. Patrick Mahomes scored 20 points less than is predicted.
Yeah, imagine if you had Aaron Rodgers on your team last year.
The running back for the Eagles scored very well today.
He did.
Saquon Barkley.
Saquon.
Travis
yeah.
Kelce did not.
Yeah,
Yeah.
rubbish.
See, that's the other thing is that the person you were playing,
Taylor Swift effect.
the person you were playing against had Saquon Barkley, and that doesn't contribute good to you. And Travis Kelce didn't do diddly, but tight ends don't often get us a great deal
No.
in our fantasy.
Or they do fantastic.
Yeah, it's either ginormous numbers or they get 2 points.
Bloody Taylor
Swift
Hold on, Blair.
him.
I am happy with my backup QB. I'm interested to see how he goes. He might
Who
get
is
a
your
start.
backup QB again?
CJ Stroud.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Texans.
I'm thinking about now that 50% of our fantasy league is in this room. I'm thinking about adding a new new
Put
thing,
it to the vote.
a new thing for next year.
Okay.
1 mandatory rookie.
Okay.
Okay, so what is the go with the rookies? Because I've seen you could pick something. Do they get like double points or something?
No, it was just that they don't have any predicted stat lines because
okay.
they haven't played a season yet. That's why they're in their own tab.
Because I do have a rookie.
Yeah, so do I.
Yeah.
Do you have
I
a rookie?
like that idea. No,
Yeah.
I don't have a rookie.
Mandatory rookie and I don't know, not on the bench. Like mine's on the bench at the moment, which is fine because he's a quarterback and I've already got a quarterback, but I'd put Caleb Williams in my starting lineup.
I went with the ultimate,
ultimate
danger
rookie.
move and chose Aaron Rodgers,
Yeah, that wasn't wise.
Mr. 4 snaps.
Mr. Not a Pass.
Yeah, I did see you pick Rodgers. I
Mm.
thought it was
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
he could statistically have a huge season. So let's see. Anyway, most of our fans would love to talk about NFL all day, I'm sure.
Well, maybe if we got sponsored by Underdog Fantasy, then we could set up an Underdog Fantasy League and our listeners could join in with us. We could
Actually, yeah, if you want to join our fantasy league.
Yeah, if you want to, honestly, if you want to join the fantasy league next season, there's no buy-in. We don't do it for money because Cheeky Towers is anti-gambling.
I would
I hope this cuts in the shot because he is just.
I would love it if Reese was in it, Mr. UK. So
That reminds
we
me.
have to ship the jacket over there.
We'll have a fans and us league, and then we have our personal league because the jacket, doing it all for the jacket, that's our own thing.
Yeah.
I'm not shipping that jacket anywhere.
That does remind me. I don't know if you've seen the analytics during the week. We would have got a listener from Wales.
Oh, did
Wales.
So shout out to Fallen Helix.
Cool.
Fallen Helix.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for listening.
What platform? Spotify, YouTube?
YouTube, I think.
YouTube.
No.
Yeah.
Don't get as detailed a breakdown on YouTube.
What episode did he listen to?
He said he hasn't listened to any yet, but he will.
So how would I have seen him in the analytics?
Because he's subscribed on YouTube.
You don't see subscriber locations. You see listener locations.
I don't know. I don't look him up.
Is he just interacting with people? John's in the
He's
comments.
just texted John.
We were chatting, and I said, I've got this thing. And he's
John's
like, okay,
actually-
I'll subscribe.
He's been putting his personal number in the metadata of everything, just so people can find
Please
it.
call me.
All right, let's
tell me T. Higgins will do good.
Tee.
I don't have T. Higgins.
I do.
Tee.
I thought Cheesy took T. Higgins.
No, I took him.
Anyway, the history of the guillotine or guillotine.
Off with their heads.
Oh, we'll get there. We will get there. So, do you say guillotine or guillotine? I think it's guillotine.
Depends
in
how much
French.
of a wanker you are.
According to the pronunciation on here, it says it's guillotine.
The guillotine.
Yeah, so you may.
G-H-I, phonetically, G-H-I-H-L upside down E, T-E-E-N.
T.
Guillotine.
Michael Jackson's made the appearance.
Guillotine.
You may think it originated in France.
Mm.
Well, the word did, but the apparatus had its root across Europe as early as 1280. The Halifax gibbet from England is believed to be the ancestor to the guillotine, a wooden structure with two uprights and a horizontal beam, and attached to the beam, a 3.5 kilo axe head.
Sheesh.
Ireland also had a similar contraption dating back to the early 1300s, and Scotland had the Maiden, constructed in 1564. One of the people executed by the Maiden was James Douglas, 4th Earl of Morton, in 1581. You got your Scottish history, Sean, you the 4th Earl of Morton?
James Douglas. Yeah, the 4th Earl of Morton. Scottish noblemen play a leading role in the murders of the Queen Mary's confidant, David Rizzio. It's the most Scottish name I've ever heard.
Rizzio.
And the king consort, Henry Darnley. He was the last of the 4 regents of Scotland during the minority of James VI. Some ways the most successful of the 4 since he won the civil war that had been dragging with the supporters of the exiled Mary Queen of Scots. So the Earl of Morton...
Well, a couple years after his demise in 1644, a publication began spreading the legend that James himself had commissioned the Maiden after seeing the Halifax gibbet.
Right.
So it says that he commissioned it, and then 1581 he was by the gibbet. By the Maiden, sorry.
The 4th Earl of Morton's townhouse is now a backpackers hostel in Edinburgh.
Interesting.
Remembering, of course, that everything in Edinburgh is very old.
So you can check that out, because if you happen to be travelling through Scotland, you can stop at the National Museum of Scotland in Edinburgh and see the original Maiden, which is on display there.
Cool.
Also stop in at
the 4th Earl of Morton's townhouse. Now backpackers hostel. Pick up some infections at a backpackers hostel. Cheeky Tail says double tap.
Jeez. Moving on. But this device we're talking about,
Don't be silly.
was made infamous by the French.
Yeah.
Wrap your willy.
How did it originate there?
I don't know. How did it?
We're having a short break while these two boys laugh out their sillies.
You like that one, Sean? You're proud of yourself. I think Sean likes that. He's gone.
Sean wants to treat it like asbestos and double wrap it.
Raphael Willie. Oh, that's just too dang good. Okay, all right, I'm back.
You're back.
I'm good.
We can continue.
We're good.
We're in our 30s.
So how did made infamous by the French, how did it originate in France? Well, along came a man called Joseph Ignace Guillotine.
Guillotine.
Yes.
Mm.
He was against capital punishment, but in failing to abolish it, instead offered a compromise. That all capital punishment takes the form of decapitation by means of simple mechanism. That was his kind of compromise. He didn't want...
Well, if we have to kill them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
His goal was to make capital punishment painless, quick, and equal to all classes of men and women. So,
Well, good job. You did that.
yeah. So for lower class citizens, before the guillotine, hanging was used, and not the type where the drop would break the neck. This is the one that would leave the condemned hanging for minutes as they asphyxiated.
Mm. No, thanks.
As well, burning at the stake was used, death by boiling, dismemberment, and the breaking wheel.
Yeah, the breaking wheels are pretty
Yeah,
awful.
I'm reading about the breaking wheel.
How does the breaking wheel work? Would you like
Oh.
to tell the cheeky listeners?
The breaking wheel, also known as the execution wheel, the wheel of Catherine or St. Catherine's wheel, was a torture method used for public execution primarily in Europe from antiquity through to the Middle Ages up to the 19th century. By breaking the bones of a criminal or bludgeoning them to death. The practice was abolished in Bavaria in 1813. So the way it worked...
They got strapped over the wheel, like on their back. Hands and feet were tied down. No?
It's kind of odd. There is a really good diagram.
They strapped them to a wagon and then broke every bone in their body. That's pretty much it.
It's a crucifix. The picture is a crucifixion.
Yeah, I thought they were like on the wheel, on their backwards, and they were pulled over the wheel, like slowly stretching over it.
It's actually really awful. Purpose in modern rectangle lines. The primary goal, the first act was agonizing mutilation of the body, not death. Therefore, the most common form would start with the breaking of leg bones. The executioner dropped the execution wheel on the shin bones of the convicted person, then worked his way up to the arms. Rhythm and the number of beatings were prescribed in each use. Sometimes also the number of spokes on the wheel was prescribed. To increase the effect, often sharp-edged timbers were placed under the convict's joints. Later, there were devices in which the convicted person would be harnessed, although not commonplace. The executioner would be instructed to execute the convicted person at the end of the first act by aiming for the neck or heart in a coup de grace. Even less often, this occurred immediately from the start. In the second act, the body was braided into another wooden spoked wheel, which was possible because of the broken limbs, or tied to the wheel. The wheel was then erected on a mast or pole similar to a crucifixion. After this, the executioner was permitted to decapitate or garrote the convicted if need be. Alternatively, fire was kindled under the wheel, or the wheeled convict was simply thrown in the fire.
Oof.
So you can see why this gentleman, Joseph Ignace, wanted to change it up a little bit.
Yeah.
This is just awful.
Yeah.
Oh, I found the braiding. Oh, no.
Yeah, medieval deaths were pretty gruesome.
Oh.
When I was looking this up, I looked up a list of
Icky
capital
warning.
punishments of how things would happen. Firing squad had its own subsection where it was like by a firing squad,
Yeah.
by like a single bullet to the head or the heart,
Mhm.
or the use of anti-aircraft guns,
Oh, God.
like oversized weaponry. And there was even one where people would be strapped to the barrel of a cannon and the cannon fired.
Like
People-
through them.
Yep.
Ugh.
Like they're strapped to the front of the cannon. Yeah.
This is not a kid-friendly episode.
People were messed up. So, King Louis would ban the use of the breaking wheel in 1791 after sensing growing discontent. Nobility would have their
Smart move from him, as it turns out.
Nobility would have their own form of execution. They would always usually be beheaded by axe or sword. Problem wasn't always accomplished with one swing, taking multiple.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm. Gross.
In October of 1789, Guillotine proposed to the National Assembly, note this was at the start of the French Revolution, along with what I mentioned earlier, 6 articles for consideration. They are, number 1, all punishment for the same class of crime shall be the same regardless of the criminal, i.e. there will be no privilege for nobility, that's what I said before. When the death sentence is applied, it will be by decapitation carried out by machine. Number 3, the family of the guilty party will not suffer any legal discrimination. Number 4, it will be illegal to anyone to reproach the guilty party's family about her punishment. Number 5, the property of the convicted shall not be confiscated. And number 6, the bodies of those executed shall be returned to the family if so requested. This was a little bit controversial for this time because the rights of the condemned were not really thought of previously.
They didn't care.
This was the first time that was even taken into consideration. So in a following speech to the Assembly a month later, he was quoted, or maybe misquoted, as saying, "Now with my machine, I cut off your head in the twinkling of an eye, and you never feel it." That statement quickly became a joke. Maybe even a French Revolution meme. And a comical song started circulating about Guillotine and his machine, forever tying his name to it, despite never actually being involved in any of its design. Joey G's proposals were accepted on the 3rd of June.
You have the pride in your eyes.
1791, and it became law on March 20th, 1792. So those 6 things became law in 1792. Now, there is the legend that Joey G was eventually executed by guillotine. This is untrue. However, he was arrested and imprisoned later for not giving up information about a Count's family, who the Count had left in Joey G's care. The Count was executed by guillotine. However, Joey G was freed from prison in the general amnesty of 9 Thermidor. That is perhaps for a different time, because that is in relation to the French Revolution.
Bonkers complicated.
Yes, I'm not going to go too deep into the French Revolution, just because it could be its own episode later on. But there was this Count was getting executed, and in a letter he left the care of his family to Joseph Ignace, and then I don't know which side of the revolution come looking for them, but he would refuse to give them up, and then so he was imprisoned.
Yep.
That's the long and the short of it.
Right.
So who designed it then? Well, it was a French surgeon, Antoine Louis, and German engineer Tobias Schmidt.
Tobias!
I haven't watched one of those.
Calls to Australia?
He make collect calls.
Oh.
It was... He was from the toilet. Is it the toilet commission?
The toilet commission. He's from the toilet commission. Wanted to know if they flushed the other way.
Hey, Mr. Prime Minister. Andy. So good.
On a rubber tire out in the lake, isn't it?
Yeah.
Drinking Fosters.
Yeah, drinking Fosters.
So yeah, these 2 gentlemen built a prototype, and it was inspired by the Halifax gibbet. It in fact included a curved blade. But that was later changed after King Louis XVI suggested it be used with a straight blade. So he made that decision to make the bit of a straight angled blade.
Why?
Because Louis XVI was an idiot.
He was a bit of an amateur locksmith, and he came up with this idea stating that it would have been better for more stout necks.
Louis XVI had no anything. He was just a rich man that was the son of the previous emperor and king, and he was just a rich snob. Don't worry anything about what Louis XVI came up with. He was just like, I can put input into this. I'm going to put input into this, which is why they killed him.
Sean's sounding very revolutionary.
Sean's very revolutionary.
Off with their head.
Evict the rich.
Actually, I saw a meme today that was like, I'm not saying anything, but look at these 2 charts. And it was like the wealth distribution in France in 1770 to 1790. And it was like, the top 10%, 90% of the wealth or something. And then now, and it was the exact same graph, but worse. I was like, ooh.
Ooh.
So the prototype.
Yep.
It was used first on a highwayman, which is just a robber who steals from travellers.
Yeah.
Nicholas Jacques Pelletier.
Yep, that'll do.
Cool. You don't even want to attempt it.
Pelle-
I mean, you nailed Jacques.
Nicolas Jacques Pelletier.
Pelletier, probably. Yeah, that sounds nice. I
That
like
sounds
that.
nicer, but pretty much that was it.
Pelletier.
Pelletier.
Oladio.
I never mentioned him again. Anyway,
That's
that was
because he doesn't matter. He wasn't even around that long. But his fucking
His head
Wikipedia,
came off.
his Wikipedia page is so long. Why is it that important?
he was the first person to be executed by guillotine.
Yeah, that's
He was a
interesting.
robber that died. Like,
Yeah, interesting.
That happened on the 25th of April in 1792 in front of what is now the Palais de Hôtel de Ville, the City Hall of Paris.
Right.
All executions took place there until August 21st when the guillotine was moved to the Palais du Carrousel, which I think is the city square. Paris, the main square.
All I need to know,
it's the open end.
where is the Eiffel Tower?
It's located at the open end of the
I don't
courtyard.
think it exists at this point.
It
Of,
didn't, but
it's at the other end of the Louvre. It's at the
Yes.
open end
Well,
of the Louvre.
that's right. It's in the
Isn't the
courtyard of the
Louvre-
Louvre.
isn't the Louvre like in a straight line from the Eiffel Tower?
Yep, the Louvre is
Yeah.
the Louvre building is part of the original Palace of Versailles,
Yeah.
and all of that construction. The Eiffel Tower was obviously created much later, but obviously
Yeah.
it was designed to work with the existing architecture of Paris. And Paris, remember, somehow it looks very, very well laid out. That's because one of the kings just decided one day everything's really gross. Go and boot everybody out and knock a bunch of shit down and make the roads wider and make them straight. So they displaced tens of thousands of people. Just said, "Get out of here! This is a slum." That's why, like,
I mean, it worked.
it worked. But you look at Paris, you're like, how are all these buildings big and beautiful, and why are the roads so wide?
Mm.
That's
You
why.
had a strong, wealthy upper class.
Yeah,
So-
because Paris is shaped like a snail.
So, yeah.
Of course it is. Of
Yeah.
course Paris is shaped like a
I'm
snail.
going to show you guys a video in between these next two podcasts, and you are going to love it.
So, the next time you are walking to the Louvre or past the Louvre, just remember that's where the guillotine.
Which, we all do all the
Oh,
time.
yeah.
Mm.
The guillotine was.
The Louvre.
Sacre bleu.
The Louvre.
The Louvre.
The Louvre.
Go to the Louvre.
The Louvre.
The
Hey,
machine.
can you tell me where the Louvre
The
is?
Louvre.
The machine,
Croissant.
the prototype was deemed a success.
Cornetto.
That's Italian for croissant, you
I know.
bell end.
I'm learning Italian.
Duolingo has been very kind to us.
Salve.
I ordered a coffee in Italian the other day. Anyway, side mission.
Un cappuccino con latte.
Did the
Perfect.
person taking the order understand it?
Yeah, he did.
Oh, nice.
Un cappuccino con latte.
Per favore.
It's not good. It's cafe con latte. Cappuccino is already got latte.
He asked for a coffee with milk, please.
Anyway, the machine was deemed a success.
Oh, very much.
Yeah, of course it was. Off with his head.
Quick and seemingly painless death.
Seemingly painless.
Seemingly painless. Well, no one really knows, do they?
No.
Do I really need to explain how it works?
Nope.
Everyone listening has an idea, right? Well, if you don't, either go to our link
If you
tree.
don't, you went to a really bad school.
Go to our link tree.
And we went to bad schools.
yeah, boy, did we.
Go to the link tree or jump on YouTube and search skateboard guillotine. There you'll
Oh.
find a jackass skit with a guillotine made with a skateboard, and you'll get the idea.
John
Have you
showed
seen
me
that
this
one?
the other day.
I have, yeah.
With Steve-O?
Yep.
Looked very painful.
Quickly, they have a skateboard and they drop it on his shins.
It's PG-13.
Yeah, it's very
PG
clear.
It's a PG-13 way of
Yeah.
understanding how the guillotine works
Mhm.
without watching anybody, die.
I didn't look up any videos.
No.
I don't know if they exist.
No.
I may
I
have,
don't.
Why would you?
I may have
I'm
tried
alright.
searching one, the one we're going to talk about later, because video cameras existed.
Yeah. I'm all good.
Yeah, I don't need to see that.
The guillotine, however, gained its infamy from the French Revolution during the Reign of Terror, which is literally what it's called.
Yep.
No one was really safe from its unbiased edge, starting with Louis Collenot d'Agremont.
You're trying to pronounce Louis XVI's entire name?
No, I don't believe that is King Louis. This is like the first
This
person
is some other Louis.
in the French Revolution who was a royalist, famed for being the first guillotine for his political ideas. So he wasn't a criminal. He just had political ideas, and he was the first person to get
Off with his head.
off with his head.
Oh, Louis Collinet d'Angremont.
Him. This led to about 17,000 people being guillotined between June of 1793 and July of 1794.
That's so.
It's
That
pretty
is-
That's
crazy.
so
eh?
many.
I've got-
so many.
I've already done the maths.
Yeah, what's
get
the
ready.
maths?
Get ready to be
How many-
mind blowing.
How many people?
That is just over 12 months. So 1 year plus a month is 396 days. Let's divide 17,000 by 396. That is an average of 43 people every day.
And like, you have to assume they weren't doing 43 a day. So there were some
No.
days where they were doing hundreds at a time.
They've probably
So
gone
at
one
40
day of a week and they're doing 350 on that one day.
They
So
would
at
have had
40
them lined up.
At 43 a day, I'd say they utilize 8 hours of sunlight to do that.
It's like one every 10 minutes. They would have had them lined up.
That's so many.
So 8 hours of sunlight. So we've got what? How many minutes of sunlight?
It's like
We got 60 minutes.
it's like when you're in Aldi and like you've got your bag and they're just beep, 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 beep.
It's like not even all the way up yet, and the next person's already in there.
Yeah,
just like,
I think that's how it was.
And we're ready.
It's like a construct. It's like
It's like, what's the shutter speed on your camera? Yeah, but how fast is your guillotine?
I 100% believe what you just said is right. It was being cranked back to the top as they were loading the next victim.
Yeah,
Like,
the head's still on the deck. You get put in and the head is in front of you and you're like, oh, shit.
I think you're like, oh shit, before you
It's a
see the head, to
basket.
be
yeah,
honest.
it's a basket.
It's
The
a basket
baskets
with a
just
head
pile
in it,
up,
yeah.
Just drop apples in a
I've
bag.
played Skyrim. I know what that bit looks like.
Can we get the head clearer, please?
Guys.
But when I did that math, that was ridiculous. An average of 43
That's
people
insane.
every day.
Like a
Yeah.
pod
So that's-
machine when the pods, there's too many.
So like you said, if there was
You're
8,
like you're trying to take the bit up at the top and you can't get it back down.
the
'cause there's
guillotine
too many
drops and
pods.
the head gets chopped, the head's sitting on the pile of heads and you're like, ah, crap. Empty the bin, guys.
Oh,
so if we were going to go hours of sunlight,
I'm sick
Yeah.
of being the
how many
only
hours
one.
of sunlight? 10?
Let's just say an 8-hour workday sounds fine.
An 8-hour work day. So what, 43 divided by 8 is what? 5?
Yeah,
5 every hour.
5 every hour.
Which is
That's-
every
that's
12
every
minutes,
12
12 and a half
minutes.
And
minutes.
just think, they would have had to have lunch.
Assuming a 1-hour lunch break in the monarchy.
You'd want to be the 43rd person or the first
Third.
person.
43rd.
43rd person or the first person.
Yeah.
What do you reckon?
I'd rather be none of them,
Yeah,
to be
generally,
honest.
yeah.
I'm pretty happy having my head attached.
That is just, and that is on the low side of the estimates. Some estimates have it up to 30,000 people.
That's a very big difference in estimates.
I know.
I do love these like historical numbers where they're like, could be 20, could be 500 million, who knows?
But that's just ridiculous.
Yeah. There's a reason why they
Ridiculous.
called it the terror.
The reign of terror, yeah.
Yeah. It's like, it's not quite as bad, but it brings to mind like the Soviet era of just like one night they'll just come get you and off you go.
Mm.
Bye-bye. It was so bad that they started going after the people that started the revolution.
I'll get there. This also was considered an event. It was a popular event. Crowds gathered. Vendors would sell programs listing the names of the condemned.
Ugh.
And this wasn't just then either. Public guillotining continued into the early 1900s.
Ooh.
It's the verb for guillotining.
Guillotining?
Would that be the right verb?
Guillotined?
There's got to be a more interesting word.
I'm sure it was guillotined. But like I said, no one was safe. From the former King Louis XVI and his wife
Mary
and
Antoinette.
Queen Mary Antoinette.
Antony.
I actually have pins of those two.
That was at the start of the French or the Reign of Terror.
The pins, their heads are separate.
Oh,
Separate pin.
Oh, that's morbid.
so those two were done at the start of the Reign of Terror,
Yeah.
and towards the end of the Reign of Terror were, or to the end of the Revolution, were the revolutionary leaders such as George Danton, Saint Just, and Maximilien Robespierre.
Robespierre was a bit of a dickhead.
He was
He was-
So if you want to learn more about the French Revolution, we'll probably do an episode sometime.
He-
But
he
there's
yeah.
a brilliant series on it on a channel called Oversimplified on YouTube. That's where I got my pins from.
a lot of maybe some of these victims in that 17,000 were just, well, there were some that were just like had
People.
opposite ideology to Robespierre. So that's kind of how he kept his power for a while.
Yeah.
Just
he has a long name.
took him to, I mean, Maximilian's pretty cool.
Maximilien Francois Marie Isidore de Robespierre.
That is a long name.
Francois is a great name. It evokes a lot of thought.
So to tie it all into the cheeky verse,
Forgot the boring jar. Damn it.
and now to tie it all into the cheeky verse,
Yeah, tie it
on the
together.
17th of June 1939, we've skipped forward a couple hundred years, outside of Saint Pierre prison, that saw the last public guillotine execution. The condemned man was Eugene Weidman, convicted of 6 counts of murder, and in the crowd, Christopher
Meow,
Lee.
Mao Diao.
meow, meow.
Christopher Lee.
Christopher Lee, the actor
Former episode topic.
and subject of Cheeky Tales episode 45.
45.
Yep.
Are you kidding? 45. We recorded that here.
Yep.
Wow. Sorry, guys. I've just gone through.
We're at episode 88.
This is
episode?
85.
85?
84.
No, I believe. Anyway.
Doesn't matter. I think it's 85.
Yep. If you'd like to know how the famed actor from franchises such as Star Wars and Lord of the Rings was there in the crowd, go check out that episode. However, there were a few issues with this proceeding, the last public execution. There was inappropriate behaviour from spectators. What kind of behaviour is classed as inappropriate at a public execution, I hear you ask?
What kind of behavior is inappropriate at a public execution, boy?
Would you like to have a guess?
I'm guessing that they were like drunk, or were they like jeering,
I don't know if they were drunk, but
heckling?
reports do say that the crowd was anything but sober and reserved. So maybe they were just like very disorderly and, yeah, like you said, jeering and stuff like that. That is not the worst of it. Allegedly, some spectators rushed towards the corpse and soaked up some blood with handkerchiefs to keep as a souvenir.
You don't need to do that. That's unnecessary.
Necessary.
It is.
That's
that's
what
icky.
we would call icky.
Icky. That's icky warning.
There was the assembly of the mechanism was also incorrect in some aspects. So they had to fix it. It was a bit of a delay.
Went up instead of down.
And there was secret filming and photography of the execution from several stories above.
Secret filming in 1939.
Hey, what's that sound?
What's that giant camera doing? Look, a man with a cape over him.
Lights.
The execution was meant to take place at dawn. So because of the correct
They had time to get ready.
because of the incorrect assembly, it was allowed people to get in position, and there was enough light for cameras and stuff
Yep, good
to
old
happen.
wet plate photography.
So when I
This
said
was in the 70s. It wasn't.
no,
wet.
this was 1939.
1939.
the last
Public.
Public execution.
So when I said earlier, I went looking for a video. I was looking for this one to see
Yeah.
what the actual video was. This all forced the French government to force any more executions to be moved inside the prison courtyard for privacy. You want to count one from Sean? I don't know if that's one. That's just the
that's
first
like
one I've caught.
6. I'm trying to yawn behind my microphone so Cheesy doesn't see me.
But it did remain the official method of capital punishment until the death penalty was abolished in 1981.
You got me.
Oh, you jerk.
With the last execution being Hamid Denjaboui,
Oh, jeez. Okay, sorry. Hamida
Hamada
Jan Dubi.
Dandoubi.
That's not it.
It's weird.
Hamida Jan Dubi.
Hamida. So
That's a hard name.
he was executed on September 10th, 1977. So that's
Today. Not today, but the day that
47
it
years
releases.
ago.
I already
He's
said
from
today.
Tunisia.
keeping with the Star Wars theme. This was 5 months after the debut of the first movie.
Mm-hmm.
The last guillotine execution was 5 months after
Yeah.
the release of the first Star Wars movie.
So the guys that did that execution probably went and saw Star Wars.
Probably. Not only was Star Wars a thing, people were awaiting to get their hands on the new Atari game system. The Atari gaming system was also launched in September of 1977. So you know, we were talking before about the GTA
Mm-hmm.
is closer to the
Yep.
that kind of thing, which is
Yep.
just
Mind-boggling.
mhm.
Yeah.
Why was Hamida executed?
Oh, no, it's gross.
He was a young man from Tunisia, where he first worked in a grocery store and later a landscaper, but had a workplace incident in 1971. His leg got caught in the tracks of a tractor and lost 2/3 of his right leg.
Ugh.
While in hospital recovering from the amputation, he met a 21-year-old Elizabeth Bosquet.
Bosco.
What?
Bosco.
Bosquet. She did file a complaint against the man, stating that he tried to force her into prostitution. This did cause him to be arrested and held in custody for a few months. On his release, he resumed his pimping ways, drawing in 2 more young girls into his confidence and forcing them into prostitution. It seems Hamida, what are we calling him?
Icky man. Do we have to read out what he
Yes. Yes. Well, you got to understand why he was executed. Seems
I think we already get it.
Hamida he also held grudges as well, because in July of 1974 he kidnapped Elizabeth and took her back to his house. The motivation being that she had dobbed on him. The other 2 girls were there, and in full view of them, he beat Elizabeth and tortured her by stubbing a lit cigarette all over her private areas.
John.
To Elizabeth's resilience, she survived the ordeal. Unfortunately, Hamida then drove her out to the outskirts of Marseille, and strangled her there.
Ugh.
On his return to his house, he warned the 2 terrified girls not to mention what they saw to anyone. Yeah, this guy was a piece of work. 4 days later, Elizabeth's body was discovered in a shed, and 1 month later, Hamida tried another abduction. However, that girl escaped and reported him to the police, and he was arrested on August 11th, 1974. After facing trial on the 25th of February 1977, Hamida would be convicted of the following charges: murder with aggravating circumstances, procuring, also known as pimping, 2 counts of rape, and 3 counts of premeditated violence, and would be given the death penalty. There was an appeal, and it was rejected on the 9th of June. In the early morning of September 10th, Hamida would be informed he did not receive a reprieve from President Valéry Giscard d'Estaing. You want to have a crack at that one?
That's a hard one.
Yep. So we'll leave it as it is. And shortly afterwards, at 20 to 5 or 4:40 a.m., he was executed by guillotine, becoming the last person executed in France. Although he wasn't the last person to be condemned, 15 other death sentences would be ruled afterwards. But before they were carried out, the death penalty was abolished in France on October 9th, 1981, and those sentences were communed.
Right. Good. I guess.
Yeah, it's gross. The guy was a dirtbag. He got the death penalty.
That was a piece of crap.
He was very young at that. I think he only ended up being 27 when he was executed. He wasn't that old.
He's 27 years old. He looks like a piece of crap.
My personal opinion is that it is a better punishment to let them live their life in punishment.
Yep. Hamida's execution helped in the abolishment of the death penalty because public sentiment was growing against not only the guillotine but capital punishment in general. And then there were reports that Hamida was responsive for up to 30 seconds after his head was severed.
Ugh.
This was testified by a doctor who attended the event.
Gross.
There's also other stories of other doctors, like they were trying to determine if people were responsive, and there's like a story of some doctor yelling at the dude's name and he kept looking at him afterwards.
Yeah.
But that is what ended the guillotine. It was, I'm trying to think of a pun like decapitated, but no, that was the end of the line for it. Not only was his execution the last one by guillotine, it was also the last one to be like government sanctioned guillotining. The last one in Western. I think some other countries may have used similar items later on, but it was no sanctioned guillotining after that. So he was the last one.
There you go.
And cut. No.
There you go. You got there in the end.
Man.
Well, not a happy story.
No.
It is not a happy story, but it is like I said, it is the 47th anniversary of
that last one.
So just why not do the history of the guillotine? And now it gets used all over offices of the world for cutting up paper.
It is head and shoulders one of the ickiest stories we've done.
That was good. Good one.
Yeah.
This is icky.
It took a bit of a downturn at the end there.
Yeah, what an ending.
You mean a downfall?
I mean, it didn't really start great. We're talking about people getting their heads cut off.
It's true. Yeah.
17,000 people in 1 year.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, it still is interesting.
Yes, it is. Good one.
Because I didn't realize it was not that long ago.
Yeah, it was that recent.
Yeah.
Because we all know the story of Christopher. Most of us that have ever read any Wikipedia page know the story of Christopher Lee. And you're like, that wasn't in the 70s. That was when he was still in the bloody
I think
intelligence
he was
corps.
17.
Yeah, he was young. Yeah.
Yep. But since then,
Saying that though, my two sisters were alive when that happened. They were very young, but they were alive. So it's not that long ago.
No, that is so recent.
Yeah.
So recent.
Man landed on the moon longer ago.
Yeah.
Nearly 10 years before that.
Nearly 10 years before.
The last man on the moon was in
allegedly.
Don't you
Allegedly.
dare. Don't you dare.
Allegedly.
1972 was the last landing.
Allegedly.
So they had done the
The entirety
Apollo.
of the Apollo program ended 5 years before that.
Yeah.
Allegedly.
Shut up. Shut up. I'm still going to do the conspiracy debunking episode.
Allegedly.
That's crazy to think of, that the entire Apollo mission.
Alleged Apollo.
Not just-
Oh my God, let's end this now.
We're not just talking about 11. What was the last Apollo mission?
17.
Yeah.
I got some photos from Adam a couple of weeks ago now he met someone that was there for the Apollo program, worked on it.
Allegedly.
Shut up.
No, that person was working on the program.
And
Yeah, the alleged program.
he was able to give me photos of hers that were,
Were they hand-drawn schematics?
no, they didn't have them, but they were able to give photos of the Apollo 4 launch, which was the first Saturn V, and the Apollo 9 or 10, depending on dates.
Depending on how good the lights were in Universal Studios at the time.
I hate you. It would be so much more difficult to fake it than it would to do it for real.
Exactly. That's why they did it.
Why would 400,000 people worked on the Apollo project and they kept all them quiet? They kept the
Including Jack
Russians,
Black's mum.
Including Jack Black's
they
mum.
Which is
kept
also
the
an
Russians
episode.
quiet.
You can go and listen.
Yep. It's all...
There's a whole 2 episodes that I did on this.
Yep.
You can go and listen to them and you hear from day one to day end.
Yep. I wasn't on those episodes because he didn't want to keep the real information in the episode.
You know what? If you want to come up with all the conspiracies, I'll debunk them. All right. That was fun. I think that's a good place to wrap up.
It's a good place to chop it there.
All right. I condemn this podcast to death. Good night, Chiquitos.
Good night.
Oh,
Let them eat cake.